Yo, what's good, everybody? Key from Almost in Full Color, and today we're doing our Final Fantasy 16 The Rising Tide review on the PS5. Now, I've already covered Final Fantasy 16 on this channel. Feel free to click that iCard to see that video. If you don't want to click that iCard, effectively, the game is fantastic. I love this game. They really went overboard with their narrative, and I thought that was absolutely an amazing thing. They got back to great storytelling, compelling storytelling, and this one is for the adults. I would not give this to a young adult or a child to play, as there are a lot of adult themes, and I think things that would be lost upon them. Could they play it? I mean, yeah, sure, but I think this really is targeted at that older crowd. Now, before we actually get into the Rising Tide DLC, we did get some quality of life updates. We did get the ability to fast travel to a person who gave us a side quest, or fast travel to a point that will finish off a side quest after completing it. This is a great quality of life thing that's going to save so much time. And if you never played Final Fantasy 16, this applies to the main game too. So much time will be saved if you're just fresh starting off. So much time will be saved just even if you're not fresh starting off, if you're coming back to the game. You're going to save a lot of time by doing this. We also have the ability to have skill sets now. Skill sets, we have so many different moves in our icon trees. Now we can make different sets, and we can have our DPS set. We can have our boss battle set. This set I love for boss battles. We can have a crowd control set. If I have to fight waves and waves and waves of enemies, this is the set I really like for that. So many different ways that you can attack these enemies, and now they give you a way to make it very quick to switch back and forth between which set you want to walk into this next battle with. Now, it does suck that you can only do this outside of battle, but hey, it's a few button clicks after you set everything up, which this allows you to stay in the game and out of the menus. So that's the great thing about these quality of life updates, helping you stay in the world, stay immersed in this world, and not in these menus kind of trying to stress and figure out what you're going to do. Once you set it, you're good to go. But that leads us into the Rising Tide DLC. Now, I believe they have the Rising Tide DLC at about 4 hours. I think it took me roughly 3.5 hours to beat. One issue I did have with the Rising Tide DLC is I wish you had the ability to start this DLC on Final Fantasy mode without having to already have a game save on Final Fantasy mode. It's just one of the spots I was like, you could have allowed people to just up that difficulty, especially for people coming back, especially people who already crushed everything, so they're not feeling too overpowered walking into this. However, narratively speaking, this is supposed to take place prior to the end of the game, so it kind of, you should kind of feel strong going into it if you were strong going into the end game, narratively speaking. But from a gaming standpoint, I do wish the enemies were a little bit more strong, as my setup is crazy. So I was able to just go through and boss a lot of the enemies. Not really many of them gave me any issues. With that being said, the last two enemies are fantastic fights. They are amazing. They're everything you want in boss battles, and you get two of them back to back. And man, like, they're big. They're just flashy. I really can't wait to see like what the next Final Fantasy entry has in store, because these last two fights I feel like really were testing grounds to see like what can we do, like how crazy can we get with our boss fights. And they went crazy. They went absolutely insane with their last two boss fights, and I feel like that was the shining gem to me of all this. Narratively speaking, it's a part of the course narrative. I feel like it's not anything that's gonna knock your socks off. They go in, and I feel like the whole point of this DLC is to just tie that final loose end through. It's, hey, Leviathan the Lost is mentioned in the main game. We don't really give it any thought. Here's this us just tying this in a knot and just doing our best to make sure like we tie that knot through, so the game is kind of like, now the circle is complete. So now that we've tied that off, the circle is complete, the game is whole in a way. And I feel like that's just what they want to do with the narrative. It's not a bad narrative at all, and the voice actors do a fantastic job, as they've done throughout the main campaign. Voice actors go in and they absolutely kill once again. So Ben Starr, great job as Clive. Like, it absolutely fantastic. So the voice actors kill. The gameplay is stellar, as it has been. Everything is super stellar. Tom Berries, go knock them out, gents and ladies. Go knock them out. All right, I hate Tom Berries. They are the little stupid butcher knives. But this is a good DLC. I would not recommend this if you didn't like Final Fantasy 16 or were somewhat iffy about it. I definitely wouldn't recommend this to you. If you had any just glaring gripes that you couldn't get down with in Final Fantasy 16, obviously this isn't for you. I really would say this is just for the diehards, honestly. With the new Leviathan power, which is very fun, and it's different the way that you would play it versus like Odin. Odin, your point is to be in the mix at all times. You know, Bahamut is you're being a little flashy with dodging and showing precision. Leviathan is kind of like range combat, if you will. Like you're kind of doing some range things, and I don't know that I like it or not, but I like the fact that it's its own thing. Leviathan is completely different from all the other icons' powers, which is the point. Like, so it is. They did a great job at making it unique, making it its own thing, and the water effects look fantastic. So if you really love Final Fantasy 16 and you just were unsure about this, but you really love the game, I definitely recommend that you get this, but also get it with Echoes of the Fallen, which is straight combat. It's, 2 hours of just like combat driven DLC. There's really no talking, really. I think you probably have like the first like 20 minutes of that DLC. I think it's kind of like the what's the point of us doing this? And then it's just straight action after that. So both of these DLCs together clock in at roughly like 7 hours at $25. I think it's a hard sell for a lot of people, but $25, 7 hours. I know a lot of games that don't give that amount of content for that price point. I know a lot of games that are $60 and barely will give you 9. So 25 for 7, I'm cool with it. I know a lot of our JRPG enthusiasts, though, 7 hours really ain't gonna do it for them. But again, if you really enjoy the combat of Final Fantasy 16, I think you're really gonna love this DLC. It's absolutely amazing. Mysidia, the new area, is gorgeous. It's just drop dead stills. I love some of these stills moments, man. It made me wish I was still in the wallpapers. Like, if I was younger, I imagine some of these moments would be a wallpaper on one of my desktops, because man, like, it's absolutely fantastic stills that exist in this game. Kudos to the team for all the work that they've done on this. I feel like this game is now 100% complete. Now we move on to the next, all right? But that's going to do it for this one, you all. Thank you for tuning in, and don't go nowhere, because that Stellar Blade is coming, baby. All right? So, hit that notification, subscription button, and stay locked in with us. And as usual, peace, be easy, be blessed.